Fight Nation.
Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George, and as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. Back east producing the show, Jumbo Josh. What's up, guys?
What up?
Yo.
Ah, man. I got a parlay working, so I'll be keeping an eye on the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Vegas Golden Knights.
What?
Yeah.
You bet hockey?
I carried it over from Sunday's event. So, it's good news that I look up at the screen and I see 1-0 Tampa Bay. And I can't find the hockey game. I don't know if it's gone off yet or not, the Golden Knights, but I'll be keeping an eye on that. That'll definitely make my night. All right, I hope you all had a great weekend. It was a busy weekend. Fights on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Major promotions, and in the case of Bellator and the UFC. But, I mean, even, like, LFA, Cage Warriors, Invicta, they came strong, man. Like, MMA was really, really popping all weekend. And I'm probably leaving out another 5 organizations, CFFC as well. So, tons to talk about. We only have one guest today. He'll show up in the second hour. It's Javier Mendez, the head coach over at AKA. So head coach to notables like Cain Velasquez, Daniel Cormier, Habib Nurmagomedov, Josh Thompson, Luke Rockhold, and the list can honestly go on and on. He'll stop by at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Before that interview and afterwards, we have plenty of time to take your calls at 877 Fight 93, that's 877 Fight 93, or look at it this way, it's 877. I memorized it. Goes 3444. Wait, what's the T again?
No idea.
Okay.
It's got to be somewhere like 8, right?
I think it's 893. Yeah, I had it.
344-4893.
All right. Yeah, it wasn't 8. Okay. Yeah. So the easier one is 877 Fight 93. You can save it that way too. I don't know about Samsung and all the other non-Apple users, but on your iPhone, you can actually imprint it, Fight 93, and you can go 877, the 5 letters, and then the dash 93.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it is 344. I wanted to say it different. It's technically 3. The way we rattle off numbers that are 7 digits, it's like AAA, BB, BB, right? So I wanted to say it that way, but it is 344, and then there's another 4, but I goofed up by throwing the 3 4s in there, but it's 344-4893. All right. So last night was the bigger card. No disrespect, but we all know that the UFC is the big player in our sport. They don't have all the big fighters. They don't have all the best fighters. They have most of them. So we're going to go that way for right now, but we will definitely be touching on Bellator because they had a great weekend despite the fact that they tripped out of the gate a little bit on Friday night with their main event, but we'll get to that. So, on Sunday night in Phoenix, Arizona, Francis Ngannou defeated Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez has lived in Northern California. I believe it's Gilroy, to be more exact, for like the past 10 years. But he grew up in Arizona. He went to college at Arizona State and wrestled there. So, he literally was coming home. And this was after a 2.5-year layoff. I mean, the stage was set for him to come back in his home state. Hometown, close enough, wherever in Arizona he's from. I'm sure Phoenix is a major hub and close enough. And he got dispatched, guys, in 26 seconds. I mean, it was quick, but that's how sometimes fights can go in the heavyweight division, especially when they involve a gentleman by the name of Francis Ngannou, who with the exception of a couple fights in 2018, that's been his recipe. He is just massive. I mean, did you see him towards the end every time they faced off? And then when the fight started, it just looked like two weight classes apart. You know what I mean?
He had a cool demeanor that I haven't seen before, that I wasn't expecting in a fight like this. Yeah. It's just almost like he knew. Granted, he's got to go in there thinking, of course, he's going to win. Yeah. But he just had this like smirk to him that he just knew exactly what was going to happen that night. It was really strange.
And so think about the questions he's answered in his last two fights. Curtis Blades wrestled in college. Cain Velasquez wrestled as well. So they both wrestled at high levels. And those are just two players or fighters you'd rather avoid if you're a heavyweight and you don't come from a wrestling background. You just kind of you can get grinded out pretty ugly. You know what I mean? And Francis Ngannou has gotten past both. So a credit to him, because about this time last year, he was coming off the Miocic fight where everybody fell off the bandwagon. He was just a sniper going into the Miocic fight. And I think a lot of us thought this might be the next guy. And then Miocic had a beautiful game plan. He mixed up striking and wrestling, because he also wrestled, and defeated Francis Ngannou. And, of course, Ngannou's Achilles heels were shown. Cardio, defensive wrestling, grappling, everything. Then he has the dud against Derek Lewis. And anybody that was left on the bandwagon, and there was no one, just a couple. And then to turn it around and beat Blades and beat Velasquez, this guy had a huge night, goes in many ways. Some that we'll touch on now, and some that we'll touch on in our daily debate, and some that we'll touch on throughout the show. But still, I want to applaud Francis Ngannou, because that's the way you do it, my man. He didn't take off 3 years or sulk. At least I didn't see him. He just made adjustments. He moved back with his normal team, back to France, and he is getting it done, man. I mean, Cain Velasquez is one of the toughest outs in all of mixed martial arts, bar none, like any division. Now, one thing that he benefited him was that he got him off 2.5 years. And I don't care if you're the hardest worker, and I don't care what Dominic Cruz says. That can't be good to have a layoff that long. But these great fighters, some of them will win, and the ones that win will say, ring rust, it don't exist. Bullshit. It exists. Some just shake it off in a round. Some do it in the first minute. But it's there. Enough high-level fighters, way more high-level fighters, have said that it does exist. And it exists in other sports. So if you were one of the ones that was able to get by, then there's nothing we can say to you, but you ain't going to convince me.
Do you feel like that was a factor, though, in that fight?
It all happened so quick that no. But those first couple kicks that came through? I mean, they didn't look like they were smooth or anything like that. Like against Travis Brown, he looked like a really smooth kickboxer. But in this fight, he was kind of like stumbling and missing, and everything was so wild that, okay, it really didn't matter, because at that point, he hadn't been hit yet. But then, boom, close quarters, a firefight, and next thing you know, the fight's done.
I think that was a big factor in that fight.
Those
right away,
kicks.
the kicks, you could just tell he was throwing kind of off his back leg, just really kind of leaning, trying to get out of that distance. And the thing about Cain Velasquez is I think you're right, he's a monster. Nobody wants to see Cain Velasquez, okay? But him kind of doing that early on, I think may have given Francis a little bit of confidence, because he sees that and he's thinking, there's a man that's worried about getting hit by me. And the one thing that Cain Velasquez has never shown is any type of fear whatsoever, right? Yeah. And so I think maybe that gave him a little bit of confidence, like, hey, man, I'm a young fighter, but this dude's just as scared as I am. And I as soon as he was doing that, I was thinking, oh, man, this might not be his night, because that's one of the things that Cain brings to the table. One of his biggest weapons was just that intimidation factor of always coming forward, no matter what. Sucks the way that fight ended, man, but how do you take that away from Francis?
Yeah, man. As much as you try and avoid it, we have to Monday morning quarterback people here on this show, because we're very familiar with their skill sets. We know what they work on. We know what their strengths are. But still, a guy off a 2.5-year layoff, I thought I was going to see more. I didn't think I was going to see those first couple kicks, and I thought I was going to see like some immediate wrestling. You know what I mean? And granted, this was only 26 seconds. So it's not like it wasn't. It's not like he waited till the second minute or the third minute, but just everything that he did, I don't know, was an opening that Francis didn't capitalize on. But regardless, to be fair, he did go in for a takedown. Even that wasn't like the cleanest takedown. And I have to give Ngannou credit because he stopped it, and boom, he hit him with a little uppercut that a lot of people that I talked to, fans, media, relatives, friends, they hadn't caught even after the replays, because a lot of people get so caught up in the high fives and I've been holding the leak or whatever, where I got to go, I'm going to beat the traffic, that they don't see some of these replays, and a lot of people feel like that the knee injury occurred prior to. Now, unless there's something that happened, and Kane explained it one way in the press conference and he explained it another way in the post-fight. In the post-fight, he led us to believe that something tweaked prior to that exchange, and then he didn't say he got caught, but then he got caught. We all know that, and then you could see the awkward fall. Actually, both knees bent back, but one in particular, the left one, looked bad. Jason Herzog knew, I think, that contact had been made, but he also could hear Cain Velasquez screaming, and so he stopped it, and Ngannou was starting to pour it on. But in the post-fight, he didn't really, when asked, and John Morgan started things off, he didn't seem to allude to the fact that the uppercut was part of what played into that. He got hit, and then the body just kind of like gave out, and when it did, that's when he went down awkwardly on the knee. Now, I will say this, had he not hurt his knee, I think it was one of those where, remember Luque, when he got hit earlier by Barberena, and Barberena kind of pounced on him, and all of a sudden he got his back taken. Like, I think Velasquez would have came out of it pretty quick. It was just a quick flash knockdown. But
referee also wouldn't have jumped in as quickly, though, had he not seen the leg.
Correct, yeah, because I'm sure it was loud in that arena, man. Phoenix came strong, by the way, and we were there a few weeks ago for Royal Rumble. You guys have amazing fans, combat sports fans. But anyway, it was so loud that I'm sure, you could tell in the replays he's yelling. Herzog's there, but yeah, I mean, I think Herzog, regardless, when he saw that, he knew he needed to stop it, and Kane has told him it was the correct stoppage, so we're good there, we're clear there, we're not looking at any controversies. Anyway, this fight was, it can be so, the Ultimate Fighting Championship is as real as it gets, and by that, a fan like myself who grew up wondering, I wonder who would win, the wrestler or the whatever. Those type of fights kind of can sometimes answer it. And a lot of people don't come from the mixed martial arts aspect to it all, where a certain amount of time or rounds or anything, positioning has to play out. A fight's a fight, man, and some people just think of a fight as like what they see at the ball game or on the streets or on the playgrounds or whatever, and that's what this one was. Boom, a knockdown, and that was it. And then one guy got injured, and they said, he's good, he's done, that's it. YouTube, you know what I mean? And that's it. But it all happened fast, and what sucks for Kane is this is the second time he debuted on a major network, and it all ended quickly. So remember what I was saying early on? ASU fans, home state guy after 2.5-year layoff against the guy who isn't from a wrestling background, who you should have that wrestling advantage where you can just go in there and grind him out. It was set up perfectly. And now all of a sudden he may be looking at an injury. People are asking him if he might retire. He's definitely out of contender talk. And with DC extending his self-imposed retirement age, at least that won't be kind of a worry. But it looked like it was going to be a clear passing of the baton from DC back to Cain Velasquez, but now it isn't.
Yeah, if they were ever to go to ABC or Showtime or HBO, if I were Kane, I'd say, leave me the hell off that inaugural fight card.
Right. I'll be a guest fighter if you want.
Yeah,
send me to the Q&A, anything. But
I want to go back to something. I'm going to go back and watch it again, but I could have sworn I'm more of the guy that I felt like the shot is what put him down.
It is.
Thus him injuring his knee. But I thought
it made him fall awkwardly, to hurt his knee.
But I thought I remembered, as I was watching it, I thought either Dominic or Anik did say, like, his knee buckled. Like, you can kind of hear it in the background before he went down. So I don't know if there were two separate, like, if it had buckled, he got hit, and then he went down and fell awkwardly, or what? Because when have we really known Cain Velasquez to be a liar, right? I mean, he's pretty straightforward. So I do want to go back and watch that, because I could have, when people were saying that, I was like, come on, guys, he got hit, he fell back, it was very obvious. But
I thought the knee buckled before seeing the replay. That little uppercut, it wasn't like Bald Bull and Mike Tyson. It wasn't one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a quick boop. That was it. You know what I mean? He just caught him. But Francis packs a punch, a lot of power. But you could see Cain's body just like a release, and that's the flash knockout. And so he falls down awkwardly, hurts the knee. But I believe they were saying it prior to even them seeing that punch. So
now what we have, this is one of those situations where, and this is why the UFC is who they are. No matter what happens, they're going to win, right? If Cain Velasquez wins that fight, man, he's back, right? Cain Velasquez
the Mexican market, the Mexican-American market,
one
Latinos.
of the best heavyweights of all time.
Yeah, Univision, where you at? You know what I mean? You're right.
But he didn't, so now you're left with Ngannou, which is just a highlight reel. All you got to do is
We're headed to Africa.
Flash a picture of him.
France.
And people go, I got to see this dude fight.
Right, exactly.
But the one thing that people didn't talk too much about...
They can't lose. I'm telling you, one of their shipments gets through, whether it's the tunnels, the submarines, a coyote, whatever. It's the UFC business model is awesome.
Well, now you have a guy in Daniel Cormier for the longest time. We kind of had three options for him, right? Brock Lesnar, John Jones, Stipe Miocic. Francis Ngannou kind of slips in there, A, because he's just a devastating heavyweight, but B, you have that avenge my friend's loss angle. So now he's a player in that little sweepstakes, and I find that matchup to be very interesting. As good as Daniel Cormier is, Francis Ngannou is a monster. He's just so big, dude. But we said that about Derek Lewis, right? And somehow DC closed the distance and was able to have his way with him. But when you look at legacy and overall what Daniel Cormier's done, I think a victory over a guy like Francis Ngannou is going to weigh a lot.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, DC and also Big Pretty, Justin Willis. I think he's the one that initiated some chatter between them. He wrote, I'm adding another one to the hit list because he's part of AKA. And then DC was kind of fist bumping, you know, because you could tell those guys want to avenge their homie. But here's something that DC here's what's funny. John Jones may have lost out on the fictitious 3 fights that DC might have left. We don't know if DC's going to have 1 and bounce, 2, 3, 10. We don't know.
Depends on
but
how
we've
they
all
go.
been playing around with those names that Goes mentioned 2 minutes ago. However, right now, Jones is still a big fight, but what DC has always wanted to do was kind of distance himself from that and write his own script, which is what we've been saying about Nate Diaz for a long time. Look, man, you've been a badass fighter. You and your brother are like legends in this sport, and you guys are super popular, and you have legions of fans. You're 1-1, and if it ever happens, great. But, man, break yourself away from that. Maybe you might write your own script, and you might be the pay-per-view star, or at least one of them. Maybe not as big as McGregor, but still. I think DC, if he can get past Lesnar, Miocic, and Ngannou, he might be the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean, those are monsters.
And Miocic, he's already beaten once, but if you were to beat him twice, that would be pretty damn impressive because a lot of you were saying Miocic was the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. Some were saying he was the greatest heavyweight of all time, but not as many. But for sure, I think we were all agreeing that he may have been the greatest heavyweight, UFC heavyweight of all time. And now with Cain possibly on the shelf or at least just kind of out of the picture and the respect that they have because they'll never fight each other. They'll always support each other. When you stand back and look at the record, throw in that Strikeforce Grand Prix a few years ago and some of the skins on his wall, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, hey, wait a minute, you have a claim here. And if he can have that claim, aside from being a champ and the almost impeccable record that he has on paper, that helps, you know, the GOAT talk as well.
Here's what Brock Lesnar brings to the table. money.
That's it, yeah.
Right? But he's also a former heavyweight
He's a former.
champion.
You can always say that, yeah.
It's nice when you're going through and trying to figure out who is the greatest of all time. When you could start saying, these are some of the guys I took out, former champions, it helps, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it ends. What guys like Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou bring to the table is they still have time left in their career. So they're the gift that keeps on giving, because once DC retires, they're going to keep fighting. And their records are going to get better and better. And who knows, maybe they'll capture titles again. And that's only going to help. DC's legacy is going to grow while he's retired. Where Brock Lesnar doesn't do it. If he loses to Daniel Cormier, I got to imagine that's it for him in the UFC. You're not
I think so, too. And plus, I've never really felt he's a guy that fell in love with the sport either. He realized that there's money here. Oh, wow, I won a title along the way. Great. But mostly there's money here. And then afterwards, I just need to go off to my ranch. That's why I don't see too many more wrestling matches left. It's not like he does that many, and too many MMA ones left, but he's playing it perfect.
Yeah, but those two fighters, they'll keep fighting after Daniel Cormier is retired, and the more they win, the better those victories are going to look for him.
Yeah. So my question to you is, now how do you think things might play out?
I think he's in it this far. I think he's going to wait out the Brock Lesnar angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Dana White's helping with this puzzle. He did say when it was brought up to him, hey, could Ngannou have jumped the queue and might he be next? Nope, we already have DC's fight planned. Well, I don't think it's Jones because, A, Jones has Smith in a few weeks. B, neither guy's interested in the other. You know what I mean? And C, I think just Lesnar hasn't gone away technically because DC's been injured, so Lesnar can do Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and they can still get down in the summer. So I think that's what he's alluding to.
I think that's the buildup. I think he gets Brock Lesnar. If he gets past Brock Lesnar, then I think that's where it comes around. Like I just don't see Stipe sitting around that long. That's way too long. So he's gonna have to match up with somebody. And I doubt they're going to give him Francis Ngannou because they'd rather DC fight both of them, right? So they'll figure something out.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
So?
I don't know. See, I don't know. DC's 40. Like, we don't know. He may be gone after this one, and that's it. I could see them possibly matching up. And Ngannou said in his – it's funny because everybody's thinking me, right? And Ngannou's thinking, yeah, man, I want to fight Miocic. He says, I want to get that one back. But I'm more concerned about the title. But if you tell him, hey, guess what? You're not fighting for the title, then he might go, you know that Miocic fight? It seems it may be applicable now. Now, Stipe may not want that fight, but if he's told, well, you ain't getting the DC one either, then he might have to play ball. But otherwise, there could still be some other considerations out there. But heavyweight's pretty interesting here. It's unfortunate that so many of these cats are like 40+. Mark Hunt, I think he's gone anyway. Verdum on suspension. DC injured, but, you know, I guess he's kind of been an active fighter. Lesnar pops in and out. Barnett moved on, but either way, if he was still there, I think he's a 40-year-old as well. Mitrione is with Bellator. He's 40, man. Karatanov's 38. Like, I know we have some young guns that are headed this way, but, man, if we could just reverse time a little bit by, like, 5 years and just have them all under one banner or just have them all active, it could really, really be some fun times at heavyweight.
Yeah, heavyweights. And, I mean, that's what the world looks to as the baddest man on the planet, right?
Yeah. All right. So, in the co-main event, Paul, we're going to revisit a little bit more of this talk, and this went a little longer than I had suspected. But just let me give you some results here because we got to take our first break. Paul Felder did defeat James Vick, unanimous decision there. That was the co-main event. It was a really, really fun fight. It was a violent fight, and it sucks, man. We really, really liked both guys, and both guys had their moments, but Felder was the one awarded the decision. In fact, 2 judges called it 30-27. Cynthia Calvillo defeated Courtney Casey in the featured bout. That's the third one from the top. Crone Gracie defeated Alex Caceres. Made it look easy. It's always fun having a Gracie name in the UFC. Vicente Luque and Brian Barberina already up for Fight of the Year. That was amazing. And Andre Fili defeated Miles Jury. Now, I think I'm just going to go and say what the prelims were too, because I don't want to in any way discard Aljamain Sterling and Jimmy Rivera, because those are high-level bantamweights right there. And Sterling got the win, 30-27, unanimous across the board. And I'm telling you, that guy looks so good that I'm not even like thinking about this kid anymore as a contender. This guy's championship material, you know. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion, but I think in the next 2-3 years he'll have his shots because he's that good. And now he's starting to distance himself. So, sort of like Moraes, except Moraes kind of has the lead on Sterling because Sterling's last loss was to Moraes.
He's got to erase that somehow.
Yeah, and we'll see if Rivera can dust himself off. He did it one time and came back and really had a really nice fight against John Dodson, but now he's got to do it again because, remember, this was the guy that was like 20-1 for the longest time with some long-ass winning streaks. So he'll have to shake it off, too. Manny Bermudez defeated Benito Lopez. Andrea Lee defeated Ashley Evans-Smith. Nick Lance defeated Scott Holtzman. And on ESPN Plus, Luke Sanders defeated Henan Barao, and Emily Whitmire defeated Alexander Albu. All right, we are going to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. We want to take your calls, 877-FIGHT NATION. Fight 93, 877-FIGHT-93, or 877-344-4893. Don't touch that dial.
Alexa, play Fight Nation.
Injuries forced them to retire undefeated from MMA with a record of 0-0-0. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Hey, Hoopsters. Got to check out NBA Radio, man. It's awesome. NBA All-Star Weekend is over, but you can still enjoy all the exciting moments from NBA Radio's coverage, which was live, which came from Charlotte. Listen to all the shows and interviews with the likes of Paul George, Donovan Mitchell, Dwayne Wade anytime on SiriusXM. The fabulous app that we have. That app also houses the MMA Junkie Radio show, commercial-free and in HD quality. Goes, did you watch the dunk contest, by the way?
You mean the game?
Well, that too.
Yeah. No, I didn't catch the dunk contest.
Okay, it's not a bad investment of 5-6 minutes of your life.
Yeah?
Because there's a couple
them all at this point.
No, there's a couple compilations that just go boom, dunk, 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 dunk. Like, you know, you're not waiting around for them to dribble it out or nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna see some repeats, but some of these kids they got hops, man. The free throw line, which what was it, Jordan and Dr. J for a long time, and you know, maybe every 5-7 years somebody would attempt it. It just seems like that's pretty easy. And the windmill dunks that Dominique put on the map, 20, 30 years ago, same thing. But you got guys that can do like the windmill dunk and then now do the Jordan dunk. Whereas Jordan did this, Dominique did this, others did that. But there's guys that can literally say, I can do them all, or whatever. Yeah,
but don't they have guys feeding them now? Like, I don't think they used to do that back in the day, right?
They do, but still what they're doing is pretty amazing. Like, I mean, I don't watch it. I don't catch it every year. And frankly, if it slips by me, I'm not losing sleep. But I happened to watch it, and I was like, whoa, okay, hold on a second. I only caught like a couple of them, and it got my curiosity. But there was some crazy dunking.
I used to like the three-point shootout. That was
that was money, too. Because the better players were actually the better three-point shooters. So it was great to see, those big names go at it. But
yeah, the slam dunk contest, like, you'd get your D Browns here and there, right, where that thought you would see him for the rest of the season.
Right. Yeah. And that,
it's still fun, though. Maybe I'll go back and catch it.
It's not like LeBron's battling Harden or nothing like that. But anyway. All right. We are going to take some calls, 877-FIGHT-93, 877-FIGHT-93. And I did want to ask Goes, though, going into the break, I threw out some of the results of those other fights. Was there anything you kind of been waiting to talk about that you just want to get off your chest before we jump on these calls?
I think some of those fights are what helped make the weekend. This weekend was very strange for me. I don't know if you guys all feel the same way. But, first of all, we had 3 cards that ended kind of strangely, the main event, right? You go to Invicta, that one ended in an odd way. Bellator ended in an odd way. And not that the ending to the UFC fight was odd, but
quick.
It was quick, and there was an interest. Like, I don't know, they kind of left you wanting a little bit more. And some of these undercard fights, I think, are what made sitting down and spending the whole day watching fights worth it. Those guys are the ones that brought it.
Even Lentz, that fight with Holtzman, that was a good fight. It had moments where it slowed down because of Lentz knowing that he just couldn't sit there and throw hands with Holtzman, and he was just using creative and crafty ways to get the fight on down, just by kicking his leg out, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Certain little trips that he had. I could see him being a crafty veteran, finding a way to beat the young buck. So, that fight, you know what? Why am I lying? I also, I guess, some of my parlays is what makes these fights so exciting. It could be that there are people that, without the bet, they're just maybe not the most exciting fights. But still, I'm telling you, you don't have to bet a lot. I know it's a vice, but so's drinking, you bastards. So get off my back. But it sure can make it fun.
I think what it was, there weren't very many fights where you didn't know who won at the end of the round, where you were like, was it fighter A or fighter B?
Yeah.
Like, you kind of knew who won. Now, granted, it could be one guy wins one round, next guy wins the next, and the other guy wins the last. But I think we lacked that a little bit in the whole weekend. Was there weren't that many where we were like, holy crap, who won that round? Like, it was just kind of decisive every round. It was weird.
The Feely jury fight was exciting.
That was fun.
The Luque Barberina fight was crazy. Like, I for one, I knew that third round mattered, but I had a feeling Barberina was possibly on his way to to just winning the fight, and then Luque comes out of nowhere. But either way, he still wanted both guys to take a bow. But circling back to Feely, he wants Stone Cold.
Yeah.
What's going on there? You know, it's been a big week on our channel with Stone Cold. For those that don't know, he was on MMA Tonight this past Wednesday for half an hour. I mean, talking about anything and everything, and lots of MMA talk there. Not just from a guy who catches a fight from time to time. Stone Cold definitely is an MMA fan. Catch MMA Tonight also on the Series 6M app, HD quality and commercial free. But yeah, apparently Feely wants him.
Yeah, that is weird, huh?
Yeah, do you have that cut, Josh?
No cut, but I did enjoy. I would actually like to see that.
That was
I'm
just
curious
a call.
what
You're right. That wasn't a cut.
Yeah,
sorry.
you called him out.
Yeah,
but that'd be fascinating.
But you know what?
I'd love to see it.
When you say something like that, it gets knuckleheads like me talking about it. You know what I mean? So it may have sounded silly, and it probably is silly, but still, when you have a great fight like Feely did, which was tactical, I think you can do a call out of Stone Cold.
Well, he'll be on tomorrow's show, so we can ask him tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to the phone lines here. Oriel from Canada is going to lead things off. If you want to follow, it's 877-FIGHT93, 877-344-4893. Go ahead, Josh. Put in Oriel, please. What's up, man?
Oh.
How you doing?
Yeah, a long time, man.
Yeah.
I just realized that you guys are at a night now, which is amazing. I can catch you. I don't have to whisper at work no more, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the best part of his calls, huh?
A little bit.
How small he would whisper. You hear people in the background.
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, so I just had one question about the fight, and then if you could just get Javier Mendez to answer one question as well. I was just wondering, last year, I remember we were talking about Francis Ngannou and how he could be a big star. And I was asking you guys if he could take the UFC to Africa, whether it be Cameroon, and I remember you were saying it'd be too unsafe, right?
Yeah.
He trains in France. Do you think they could drag the UFC to France? Like, do you think he could drag him to Paris? Him headlining a show and a lot of
as far as I know,
French local
it's
talent?
still
like
not
that.
sanctioned there, yeah.
Yeah, you still
It's
can't
one
do
country
it in
that
France.
has put their foot down against MMA. But I'm hearing strides have been made, and there's a lot of great French fighters, and there's a lot of great French athletes. So I anticipate France being a contributor to MMA going forward, like with even more phenomenal athletes.
Now, granted, this was about 2 years ago that I asked somebody at the UFC this question about Africa. And, yeah, they just kind of gave me a look like, that ain't going to happen anytime soon.
So
like,
here's what I heard. If anything, it's going to be South Africa. But as far as like Cameroon, where Ngannou's from, or Nigeria, where Usman's from, I don't believe we're ready for that. But once you have a show in a certain part of the world, it can then take off. You know what I mean? And so South Africa has already had, let me see, I think I have this right. They're called EFA. They've had a promotion there for a while. Yeah, in fact, they used to be on Fight Now TV.
I think didn't Super Fight League go there once?
They may have. But that's what can get the ball rolling, you know. But I would say that's a country that's hosted, if I'm not mistaken, a World Cup, and can't remember if they've done an Olympics or not. But so I could see them starting things off there. Egypt and Morocco also, have hosted big soccer tournaments. So we'll see. But I anticipate more and more talent coming from that continent.
Okay, cool. And if you could just remember to ask Javier Mendez, he doesn't have just Cormier and Kane as heavyweights at that gym. I think Justin Willis is coming up. Does he see, getting 2-3 shots at Francis before, everything's all said and done? I just want to, if you could ask him that, if you could remember. Thanks, guys, and enjoy all your new success.
Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mendez doesn't work with Willis, right?
I don't know.
But we'll ask him. Things always change around, and he is part of AKA, so who knows. Coaches and fighters switch off from time to time. So, like a few fights ago, you wouldn't have seen Eric Nixick in Kevin Lee's corner, but now he's been in the last two. So, yeah, it's definitely worth asking him that question. All right, Paul Felder and James Vick. man, that was a great fight. And Vic had some moments there where I thought he was doing what a guy that's 6'3" needs to do to not just Paul Felder, but everyone in the division that's put him at the end of his range, whether it was a kick straight up the gut, to his solar plex, or right up to his chin, the jab. But what wound up, I think, being his big downfall was Felder got the calf kicks in, and that slowed down James Vick big time. Now, that's not saying that if Felder doesn't do it, that's the only way to win, because he was hitting them with plenty of punches and spinning back fists. So Paul Felder's dangerous from many ways. But I believe that was one of the main points of the fight, was how much that hobbled James Vick.
Stopped him from throwing combinations, too.
Yeah, and it was in his head. Every time they went to the corner and they asked Trevor Whitman what did he like and didn't like about what the corners were saying, he was reiterating to us that James Vick was passing that on to Lloyd Irvin. Lloyd Irvin was shutting him down, saying, I don't care, you got to fight. Obviously this is going to be tough for Vic. This is 2 in a row. But he, even though his age isn't that of like a young, early 20-year-old, he's still young in the sport. So therefore I believe he has time to figure this out. But for Paul Felder, I mean, this guy's an announcer who's doing well. So he's popular with the UFC on many fronts. And he's so likable. Yeah, have you noticed a lot of people just like Paul Felder?
Yeah.
And I could see this. I could see Paul Felder being one of those guys that if he's in the right place at the right time, maybe one day he'll get a title shot. You know what I mean? Now look at Poirier. I would think he's super popular as well. And we can't even get him a matchup in 2019 yet. And they're already filling up cards all the way till May, and he's healthy. But he's likable. He's just the timing isn't working out because of everything being stuck on working things out with Habib and Conor or whatever. But Paul Felder, man, he's on a roll.
All that being said, Paul Felder was victorious that night, but he had to spend the night in the hospital. He had a collapsed lung.
Yeah.
Do you know how dangerous that could be? He had to spend the night in the hospital. James Vick, I think he solved one of the questions. A lot of people remember what happened with Justin Gaethje, and he took a lot of good shots from Paul Felder and kept on coming. He also has the option of maybe moving up a class. He's a big dude. But you're right. He's a young kid, and I think he's still going to make adjustments. The one thing I like about him, though, is when the decision was read and it didn't go his way, his reaction of just disappointment, just being upset. There's a lot of guys that just kind of hang their head like, oh, well, you could tell James Vick is that
passionate
guy. He's going to be right back in the gym to correct all those mistakes.
Yeah. Paul Felder is 4-0 since losing to Trinaldo in September 2016. Now, I'm not stupid. I know he fought Mike Perry, but that was a welterweight fight. But I believe he won his last 5 or last 4 as a lightweight, so he's got a little bit of a buzz in that division. All right, who's up next, Goes? Who do we have?
Ben from New Zealand.
What's up, Ben? How you doing?
Yeah, I've been sweet as chips. That's a worry. Here, Paul was fighting with a collapsed lung, man. That sounds terrifying. But one of the things that was frustrating in that fight, and I can't remember the commentators even bringing it up, was that Paul was going headhunting way too much and not trying to punch James in the body, because James has gotten pretty good at just getting his head just out of the way of the shorter opponents, and pretty much everyone's shorter than him. And Paul wouldn't go down to the body. I thought he was headhunting too much. You guys see the same thing?
I think he kicked him in the body, but yeah, he didn't punch him to the body. As far as James getting out of the way, he was, but a couple of times he was getting just clipped on the chin, and he really needs to tuck that chin in better. And when he's retreating, he has the bad habit of leaving it out there. What he did improve on, though, was not having his back towards or against the cage. If you'll notice, that's kind of what was his downfall against Justin Gaethje. And luckily, his coach, Lloyd Irvin, kept telling him, get off that back cage. You could even hear him. So it was strongly emphasized. It's something I believe that they corrected, and that was good. There was some positives from him to take out of that fight. Again, Felder's a stud. Somebody had to go down, and in this case it was. I want to point something out. Felder, I believe, got the collapsed lung on the last kick of the 3rd round. So luckily, Ben from New Zealand, this didn't happen in the 1st round, and it wasn't anything where he was, at the, I guess, at a higher risk. Luckily, it did happen at the end. But, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel from. I've got a cracked rib myself at the moment, but it wasn't from doing anything like fighting James Vick. But what I was going to get on with was this thing with Kane. This thing with, did Kane get knocked out, or did he wreck his leg first last week, or no, just after Israel Adesanya's fight against Anderson? There was a GIF doing the rounds where it sort of got posted in, I can't remember if it was Reddit or not, and it said, wow, Anderson was back in the Matrix there, and it's these 3 strikes that Izzy threw, and people were saying, well, he's back in the Matrix, as if they all missed, but a lot of people were saying, no, every single one of them hit. And it was like those, I don't know if you remember that dress a while ago, that was this meme. Is this dress blue or is it white? And there was another one that was that Yanni, or, what was it, Yanni or something like that? And the same person can watch the same thing and see a completely different thing or hear a completely different thing, because when I look at the gifs of this Kane fight, I see his head snap violently, both laterally and rotationally, from that uppercut. It's not like a little tap. His head gets snapped real violently, and that's the thing that drops. It kills equilibrium. It's why his butt starts dropping vertically, and it's why his body starts rotating to the vertical. Like if he's going for a takedown, your body is more lateral or diagonal to the ground, right? His body gets pushed up vertical. It's because he's got no muscle control, because his brain's just been shut off by Francis's punch.
Yeah, his legs literally gave out, and that's why he fell that way.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, so that's when he wrenches the knee. So, but if you look around the internet at the moment, people are saying, no, the uppercut did nothing. It was all just because his leg buckled. I don't know if it's people who don't want to give Francis credit or what. It's just, oh man, it's all over. You know how the internet is. That's why it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I suppose you're right, yeah. No, man, that was a hard punch, and it was on the money, it was on the button, and just Kane's reaction alone to us tells us that was that it was a valid hit. You know what I mean?
You know, Ben, we got to go to one more break, but if there's something else you want to say, you got a couple seconds.
The couple of seconds, I was going to say, there is some footage of Kane at the open workout where he's hitting mitts, and it looks like he wrenches that knee. I don't know if you guys have seen that clip. I'll try and find it and put it in the Facebook group, but Kane said going into the fight, he felt good and everything was good, but there is a moment in the open workout that doesn't look good.
Okay, yeah, I heard that as well. All right, thanks for the call, Ben. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. When we come back, we do want to go through some of the results that came out of Bellator 215 and 216, and of course, we'll continue our UFC on ESPN 1 Talk. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
I get paid to say things in this cool voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, on Friday night, before we even got to Saturday's Bellator 216 card with MVP and Daly, and UFC on ESPN 1 with Ngannou and Vazquez, on Friday night, Bellator had a card, same place, Uncasville, Connecticut. And Austin Vanderford, Paige Van Zandt's husband, got a win. He continues to look good, undefeated. They got themselves a nice prospect there. Former champion Eduardo Dantas, former bantamweight champion for Bellator, Eduardo Dantas got a win over Tobias, Tobster. Logan Storley also got a dominant win, so I'm talking like 30-27s there for the most part on both guys' scorecards. But then we get to the main event with two solid heavyweights. Two guys that could possibly fight for a world title. I know Mitrione just lost to Bader, but you know, he's had a nice little run there, and all he'd have to do is maybe get a couple wins, and then he'd be in. But Karatanov possibly, you know, may have been looking at something. Well, what happened was Mitrione, 15 seconds in, kicks him in the nuts, and Karatanov was in agony. I think he could have given him 55 minutes, not just 5 minutes, and he wasn't going to recover. He was just writhing in pain. You could tell it was bad. And in this sport, I've heard of a testicle exploding, and I've heard of a testicle being pushed up into the abdomen. And I was thinking, it's one of those two is all I was thinking, because this guy ain't getting up. And it's weird because the referee said, I know it was unintentional, and it's going to be a no contest. But it almost looked like there was nowhere else that it was headed, like, other than to that particular spot. There wasn't that much movement.
He did pivot a little bit.
Maybe, I guess. Now, in no way am I calling Mitrione dirty. That's for damn sure. That guy goes out and competes, man. He's a sportsman. He could just beat that guy with his hands or his kicks or whatever. He doesn't need to do that. But when you see it, you just have, like, I know there's a lot of fans that struggle with that, where they're like, well, what was it going then? You know what I mean? Because that's all that's there. You know, that is just his
the inside of the thigh.
And his cack. And right above that, the belly button. But guess what? You're not going to make it to the belly button because, you know, you're the jewels and everything else is there. And it just looked like that's the only place it was headed. Like, we gotta have another sit down with a Jason Herzog or somebody that comes to town in the future, because Big John's just not available to us like he was. Or we can always do a phoner, but like, when is it intentional then? You know what I mean?
I think like once you've done it the second time or a third time. I mean,
does the referee have to hear him say, "Hey, motherfucker, I heard what you say at the weigh-ins. I'm gonna kick you in the nuts," and then boom, a second later, kicks him in the nuts?
It's not that easy. It's like if you're in a fight and you're looking to kick someone in the nuts, like, it's not the easiest thing to do, and you got to worry about somebody's hands. Like, I think very few of them are really intentional.
Yeah.
But here's what happened to Karatanov, though. He went to the hospital, came back to his hotel, and then had to go back to the hospital again later that night. Jeez. I mean, you know, whatever it was brutal. Luckily, we got to see him again the next night, and he was all
Thumbs
smiles.
up.
But nobody wants to ever be in that situation. And, I mean, lucky for us, this seems like something that they could do again fairly soon.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, like I say, I don't remember either guy. Well, in this case, more Mitrione, having any label of being a dirty fighter. So more than likely, he just meant to kick a certain part of the body and was just off. But in terms of how it looked, it just looked like that's where he had meant to hit him. There wasn't really too much movement from the other guy.
So early too.
Yeah, so that ended unfortunately. Bellator 216, that was a great card with even more talent. Give you some quick results here because we're up against the break. Valerie Lareda got a win over Colby Fletcher. Yaroslav Amosov defeated Eric Silva. Man, Silva gave him hell, though. Czech Congo defeated Vitaly Minikov. Minikov suffered his first loss there. Mirko Krokop defeated Roy Nelson. And by the way, those decisions there were disputed on both sides, as was the Daly one. Michael Venom Page defeated Paul Daly. We will touch on that in the second hour. We'll be right back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Javier Mendez coming up next.
going to be interesting.
They were abducted by aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
If an alien abducted me, he'd probably go, this guy's fucking dumb. Send him back. Like, there's nothing to probe into him. We can't dissect his brain or body or anything. Send him back. Wow, I just made a huge mistake. So I have some explaining and apologizing to do. But I'm going to see if Josh
is it labeled wrong
can pull a miracle. No, I just initiated the whole conversation with the wrong person. He may know, though, actually, because – wait.
None of that conversation threw him off? Like, wait a minute.
Oh, no, you know what?
Please explain in detail.
Oh, wow. What a colossal fuck-up. Gee. Well, can you try the real one first?
Oh, yeah. I'll shoot him a shot. See if he can come on.
Well, no, just call him and see. By the way, do you right now happen to be free to do an interview? See if he laughs his ass off when you tell him what happened. And if not, I'll explain the whole story and I'll have some apologizing.
Is this part my fault, too?
No.
Because remember,
No, not at all. I'm the idiot the whole time. But now I know why I was saying it and why I wrote it the way I did.
If you would have just said it once, I would have said, "Oh, okay." But
the only thing you
twice.
Was the S to the Z where John corrected. That was fine there.
But since I saw it twice, I go, maybe, I don't know. But then he said, "Yeah, you're right." So I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, because what I thought was that I spoke to a certain. I thought I spoke to M, but I accidentally wrote V. So when you told me, "Hey, you know it's M, not V," I was like, "Oh yeah, I goofed." You know, I must have just wrote the wrong thing. But no, the whole time I've been talking to V.
But V wasn't like, hey, none of the stuff you want to talk about makes any sense to me right now?
No, and I'll read the whole thing because this isn't in any way, you know, I don't believe this is insulting or you know what I mean, patronizing, nothing like that in any way. And if we have to, I would enjoy talking to JV, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And just
don't say it like that.
Huh?
Don't say it like that.
Well, those are the initials. Yeah. Quick to point out, that's what I mean. Is initials, not anything to do with the.
It's not a step down.
Varsity. Right. Exactly. But if Josh tells me that he pulls off a miracle, we'll do the interview that we accidentally promoted on the site, and if not, then I will try and figure that out with that gentleman.
That gentleman could be on our website right now, going, "These guys have lost their mind." What is going on?
He thinks we a lie is what he thinks.
Well, I just texted Javier, so we'll see if he could come on now.
Okay,
that would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, no. The reason did you call him though?
I tried him and I got voicemail.
The Javier Mendez.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, yeah, that's fine. I just don't want both of them to call, and then all of a sudden we're gonna have to really do some reshuffling. Here's what happened, Junkie Nation. Here's what happened, Junkie Nation. Again, nothing bad happened here. This is just an honest mistake. All right. So I thought it would be a good time to catch up with, everybody focuses on the winners of a fight. And I don't always look at it that way. I think if there's a story, there's a story. And I figured let's have Javier Mendez on the show. Except me being the numbnuts that I am, I texted Javier Vazquez, former WEC fighter. Did he fight in the UFC at one point? Or did he?
I don't know if he made that transition. But he had some pretty good fights in the WEC.
Yeah, hell yeah he did, man. He's a SoCaler guy. We like that guy. Even though he's a big shirt dog guy. But still, shirt dog's been around, man. Let me read. I'm just curious here about Javier Vazquez.
It's hilarious that he's playing this music because when we were kids and we would do something stupid, we would whistle this.
Why did we used to do that?
Like if somebody was just being a clown, like if you just did something dumb.
So Vazquez actually did fight once in the UFC and he won. Undefeated in the UFC. He fought everywhere. Okay. Look at that. Respectable record. 16-5. Beat Jens Pulvers, Mackin Semmerzer, Joe Stevenson.
I was so against antics that one of my ex-girlfriends, I would also make her dance to this music when I start whistling it. And she knew if she screwed up, so she'd just have to do kind of like an icky shuffle.
Hey, Josh, Javier Vazquez just texted me. Let's call him. He just got done with class, so we will talk to the former WEC and UFC vet. He said he had something going on at his gym, so we're all in favor. But when I read you the text, I think we'll all just get a kick out of it. Hell, when's the last time he fought? 2011. It's been a while. Man, and that's right. He battled cancer. I'm trying to catch up here on my notes. Yeah. One time married. Oh, he needs the number. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
fucking
these things.
And now Javier Mendez now says he's available.
Well,
I mean, this is
okay. Tell Mendez if we can call him at 6:30 because Vazquez. We have to be. What's right is right, and I believe Vazquez told me he only had 6 to 6:30 available, so I wanna comply.
Yeah, text me his number.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay.
These things happen in MMA.
Yeah, if Mendez can do 6:30 to 7, that would be awesome. We'd have 2 guests, and look, we have all week to cover everything that went on. Look, in the meantime, while Josh does this, let's talk about Bellator 216 MVP versus Daly right at the top. Big grudge match. Was it a striking affair? No.
No.
Not in the least bit. First round was horrific. You had, you can hear the laughter in the back. They probably watched it too. MVP was just in his usual side stance, karate stance, and he wanted to kick somebody, and he did a couple times. And looked like Daly had a big left hook ready for him, but neither guy would throw. And then all of a sudden, Daly turned it into a little bit of a wrestling match, and there's nothing wrong with it. The only problem is, quick to remind, he had a problem with when John Fitch was doing it to him, so he's taking a little bit of heat for that one. But still, nothing wrong with trying to win a fight in a certain way, especially with $1 million at the end of the rainbow. Holy cow. And then in the end, it picked up a little bit, but he got grappled back. And I think we all agreed that MVP won rounds 1 and 4, and 2 and 3 went to Daly. And so going into the 5th round, whoever won that round was going to win it. And I know Daly's disappointed, but I think it was close up until the very end when MVP just happened to be the guy that ended on top, and that was that. All right, Javier Vazquez ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, joining us now is former WEC and UFC veteran Javier Vazquez. How you doing, Javier?
How are you guys?
Good, my man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with Georgia Goes. It's been a minute. Thanks for jumping online with us.
Sure.
Now, I got to come clean, but either way, I still want to do a catch-up with you because I remember covering you for a long time, and like I was telling the audience, 16-5 record, notable wins, 1-0 in the UFC, Joe Stevenson, Jens Pulver, everything. We definitely tip our hat to you, but I got to admit to you, sir, here on live radio, I had actually meant to book Javier Mendez, and I booked the wrong Javier. But then when you told me you had an event going on and everything, well, we're SoCalers as well. We figured, hey, let's support that. So tell us a little bit, catch us up a little bit with Javier, with how you've been, and tell us about the event you got going on, and we'd love to know what's the latest with you.
Yeah, the last couple of years have been a little bit challenging, but I just wanted to give everybody an update on my health and everything that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be coming off of the Gerson therapy here very soon. Hopefully in April I'll start tapering down, and I'm getting I'm getting towards the end of beating cancer back in October of 2017.
Right, you were diagnosed with colon cancer, and you're saying that you're in the finishing stages of beating that diagnosis.
Yeah. I'm.
Well,
I've been cancer free for well over a year.
That's wonderful.
And we understand what caused it. We understand how to treat it, and I'm excited. I'm going to be making a YouTube channel eventually. Once I get, because this diet is incredibly labor intensive, so it takes up a lot of my time. But as I start coming off, I want to share what I did to beat it. So I'm either going to do it off of my YouTube channel, or probably I'll start another one just so it has its own YouTube channel of recipes and strategies and stuff of how I did it.
Now, is this a big secret you're holding on to, or can you give us a little bit of how?
No.
Because I'm curious.
No, well, I did the Gerson therapy, which is Max Gerson, who's now passed, and his daughter Charlotte, who just recently passed, maybe a week or so ago, have been preaching this therapy for, since like the 19th, so almost 100 years.
Uh-huh.
Charlotte was 95 when she passed, and they've been pushing this diet for a long time. The Gerson Institute pushes this diet, and it's been beating cancer for, about 100 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I did that therapy, and I'm coming off of it here very soon.
Okay, and a lot of this has to do with what, like your diet, or?
Yeah, it's the Gerson therapy is a four-step basically process. It's got like 4 pillars.
Okay.
The first pillar is basically your diet, which is basically just vegetables, like no oils, no meats, no animal products at all. Vegan diet. Second pillar is juices. I was doing up to 12 juices a day at the peak of the diet. The third pillar is coffee enemas, and the fourth pillar is supplementation with the juices. So it's a four-legged, 4-pillar approach. So it's a complete therapy. So I'm like on a certain regimen for juices. I'm on a certain regimen for supplements. I have a certain amount of coffee treatments I have to do every day. And then my food is prepared a certain way as well. So.
Damn, man. Respect. I mean, that seems like you put yourself through a lot, but I guess when you're fighting for your life, you have to do it. And here you are, sounding like you're on the verge of beating cancer fully. That's very commendable.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned a lot about the body. I've learned a lot about nutrition. I learned a lot about, I got into meditation because what causes cancer is 2 things, toxicity and deficiency, right? Toxicity in the body, things that we put in our body, things that we breathe in the air, things that we drink. Stress is a huge toxin in the body. It has it toxifies the body because it's releasing adrenaline and all these things, and cortisol and all these things in your body, which make your pH balance acidic. So, and then the nutrient deficient food is the other end of it. People aren't really eating right. People are eating a lot of greasy foods. People are eating, a lot of fast food. So it puts all these toxins and chemicals in your body. And, cancer is basically a hijacking of the immune system. So the second your immune system goes to hell in a handbasket, then that's when you start developing cancer.
Javier Vazquez is our guest here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show, former WEC, King of the Cage, and UFC veteran. All right, and let me turn it over to Goes now. Goes, what do you have for Javier Vazquez?
Javier, so I have a lot of friends and family that have gone through something similar, and one of the biggest challenges for them was just trying to figure out there's so many courses of action and so many ways to address the cancer that it's kind of difficult to pick the correct one. How long did it take you to kind of figure out the exact course that you wanted to go through, and how many people were involved in that decision?
I came across the Gerson therapy when I was doing research when I was fighting back in the WEC. I started getting a little bit older, and I was having, as you get older, the last few fights, I was 33, 34 years old. Recovery starts to be an issue. I didn't want to have to, I didn't want to go like the, the illegal supplement route. So, I tried to figure out what else I can do. So I started looking into diet and nutrition. And I came across the Gerson therapy, and they basically said, it beats cancer and yada, yada, yada. And I did a little bit of research on it, but nothing too crazy. But I'm like, wow, if I ever was to get that, I kind of know what direction to go.
Oh,
and,
wow.
and the diet cures a lot more than just cancer. It cures all kinds of stuff. It basically repairs your immune system, and then your immune system fights everything off. Your natural healing mechanism within your own body can support itself, can beat all that stuff, but you need to give it the proper supplementation and the proper nutrition in order for it to kind of kick on. So when I was looking doing my research for fighting for nutrition, I came across the diet, and then, I didn't think I was ever going to get cancer, right? So who does? So it just so happened that when I got it, I went to my oncologist, and they're like, yeah, you got to do chemo. I'm like, chemo? I didn't want to do chemo. I'd done enough research on that. As you start doing cancer research, you start realizing that chemo is not a great option. It's going to do more harm than good if it does anything at all. If it doesn't kill you, you might survive. So, I told my doctor that I was going to go a different route because it made no sense to me my body was already, deficient and toxic. So I didn't want to put more medicine in and make it even more toxic. So it made no sense for me to go through chemo, but the Gerson therapy basically rejuvenated my body. Nutrition rejuvenated my body. God rejuvenated my body. And I feel way better now than I ever did before. So, you got to get the toxins out, put good nutrition in, and your body will fight the cancer by itself. So when I told my mom, who's in the medical field, she does respiratory therapy, she was very hesitant, and when she started doing her research, she thought I made the best decision. And my sister was also involved, and it was the same thing. When you start doing the research and you start really diving into what that is and how to beat it and the results you're going to get from it, the decision is pretty easy. It's whether or not you can, it's whether or not you can do the work, because it's pretty labor intensive.
Javier, I've heard a lot of doctors tell fighters and athletes that had their bodies not been through what they've gone through and just being in that peak physical shape before, some of them may not have been able to get through the fight. In your case, was that an advantage, having a body that had been conditioned so well most of your life?
Yeah, I definitely think that it didn't hurt. And I definitely think that I have a pretty strong mind. I mean, even when I fought and stuff, I was pretty mentally tough, throughout my career and stuff. And just the journeys and the workouts and stuff to get through a training camp and into a fight, those are, mentally grueling as well as weight cuts, right? You got to be pretty mentally tough to go through a bunch of weight cuts, which suck. Because there's a lot of, yes, there's physical work that needs to be done, right? But there's also mental and spiritual work. I got into meditation pretty heavily, so that helped tremendously as well to kind of calm my mind. And just being really disciplined is what really gets you through this diet. But also psychologically, you're basically chained to a juicer for 2 years, right? So you can't really do anything, can't really travel, can't really go anywhere. You got to kind of focus on your health and focus on yourself for a little bit of time. And, you're kind of confined to a city wherever you live. You can't really go anywhere because you got to be back. At 12 juices, you're doing the juice every 45 minutes. You're pressing juices every 45 minutes, So, the mental, it's man, I'm going to write a book on that at some point, because it's the mental, it's the physical work, it's me having me being in pretty good shape to start with. I think it all contributed to success. And my support system was incredible. My sister's support system, there was a GoFundMe for me that helped with support. I mean, what I've been through, I've been incredibly blessed to be able to make it through gracefully the way I feel like I have, on top of other things that I was going through on top of that. There's no way I could have done it by myself. It was definitely a team effort.
Javier, is this Gerson therapy applied to all forms of cancer, or was it specific to colon cancer, which is what you were diagnosed with?
Now, I mean, when you start looking into it, it cures everything. It cures diabetes, it cures lymphomas, it cures all kinds of stuff. Because what it does is it rejuvenates your body. It gets rid of all the toxins with the juices and the coffee treatments. They get rid of all the toxins out of your body. The nutrition that you're putting in through the juices and supplementation rejuvenate your immune system, so it fights off everything. So it literally fights off everything. Really, what it does is it just brings your body, it resets your body back to square one.
Uh-huh.
And your body fights everything off on its own.
Will you have to have a strict diet for the rest of your life, or can you now indulge from time to time?
My diet will be, by choice, it will be pretty strict. You got to understand that the more liberal you are with your diet, the more toxins you're taking in. So long as you supplement yourself with proper nutrition, with juices and coffee treatments, you can kind of, and really meditation and really, I will be able to eat pretty much whatever I want. In what do they say in limitation? Not limitation. What's the word I'm looking for?
I'm no wordsmith. How about you?
Mediation?
No, I know the word he's thinking of, but it's
like with the proper. Like, I can't go nuts on anything, but I can have a little bit
moderation.
of
Moderation. Where's Luke Thomas when we need him?
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I could have everything in moderation, but I won't eat red meat again. I mean, there's a book out there called The China Study. Chico and Campbell wrote it, and it talks about how animal products, produce cancer. Like, it instantly shoots up your cancer in your blood work. Like, so I'm not taking any chances. I'll pretty much stay on a vegan diet the rest of my life, and I'll pretty much my maintenance protocol is supposed to be probably 4 juices and 1 coffee treatment a day for the rest of my life. But it's easy, man. Once you've done 12, 4 is a joke.
Yeah, really. Okay. Well, we're very happy that you are close to being 100% clear, and great. Yep. We were able to connect. Now, tell me about the weekend event, because we have to get going here. But you said you had an event going on this weekend, and we'd love to help you promote it.
Yeah. So first of all, it's going to be at my Jiu-Jitsu Academy, Javier Vazquez Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Rancho Cucamonga, and we're just having a small in-house tournament. I used to run several big tournaments at the Fitness Expo and all that.
Right.
Those are pretty stressful. So those are pretty stressful. They're huge events. But we're going to be running just a small in-house tournament on February 24th at the Javier Vazquez Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Okay.
All the registration, all the stuff is on my Instagram, JB Jiu-Jitsu. The flyers and all the website information is on JB Jiu-Jitsu, which is my Instagram. And if you're interested in techniques and stuff, I do post techniques and I show what's going on at the academy.
Sounds great. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, and I'm glad we were able to speak.
Thank you guys so much.
And thanks for the time. All right.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the call.
All right. See you, Javier. Take care. All right, folks. We are going to take a quick break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
were abducted by aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, I'll do the next. On the next break, I'll do the read. For now, let's jump to the hotline. Looks like it's Kevin from Chicago. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys? I wanted to read you this tweet real quick.
I know, bitch. I know what you're
going
to say. I can already read you. I know exactly what you're going to say. Here, I'll do it for you.
What?
This is what you're going to say. Not trying to start a fight, but wrestlers hold 8 of 7 male UFC titles, and people are meh. One high-level BJJ guy chokes a very low-level grappler, and people be like, hashtag BJJ for life. Right?
No. This is a tweet. Great news is that there's only 1 minute left. Congo controlling Minikov's head. He's working his way back to his feet. Bellator 216. Now, that was the tweet in the third round when Minikov was on top with Congo's back against the cage on his back. Now, when someone's on top of you and they're hanging on to your head, you think Congo's controlling Minikov's head or Minikov is controlling Congo's body?
He's definitely controlling his head.
Even when Minikov's on top of him?
Oh, yeah.
I disagree. I say Minikov would be on top of him, controlling the fight. He's on top of him, taking him down, controlling him for the interior.
I thought Minikov was going to be. Minikov was going to be awarded the fight.
I'm going to be honest with you. I picked Congo.
Yeah.
But I thought that Minikov won.
Well, but now Minikov did not look as good as he. Okay, for one, let me say this: I picked Minikov. I bet Minikov, and I thought Minikov at the end was going to maybe get the call, but Congo poured it on with some strikes, and I think maybe that's what was able to sway the judges or whatever. But I think Minikov was hitting more of what judges usually look at, and that's where a lot of the controversy comes from. So, it depends, man. Whoever you talk to, some people say, who would you rather be or whatever, and that's a whole other question. But I thought they were going to call Minikov's name, but when they didn't, I wasn't shocked either. But, hey, check out Ben Askren's tweet. I thought that was right down your alley, Kevin. I knew you would love it. He's a little wrong, though. 6 of 8 UFC males hold the titles that have wrestling. I think he wants to kind of ride Whitaker a little bit. Whitaker has talked about wrestling a little bit, Commonwealth Games, but not like he's not like ingrained in them all his life or nothing like that. We got to move on to our next guest, though. Thanks for the call. All right, our next guest is Javier Mendez, the head coach at American Kickboxing Academy, home to world champions like Josh Thompson and Luke Rockhold, and Daniel Cormier, and the list goes on and on. He's on the hotline. What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
All right, my man. Thank you very much for joining us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Everybody runs to when somebody wins, and that's great and all. But I think it's always great to talk to a team when they have their highs and lows. And I know
losers?
Yeah, and I know last night didn't go the way you guys wanted, but still, like I say, I don't think you guys have ever shied away from dealing with big wins and big losses. Yeah, that's what makes your gym so commendable and so powerful, because you guys are still always able to rebound even when things don't go your way.
I'm fortunate, it was a bad freak situation, but hey, things happen, sometimes it's I've never encountered this one, but hey, there's always something new.
Yeah, and so, 2.5 years, I know if there's fighters out there that can get past something like that, that type of ring rust, it's a guy like King Vazquez because he's such a hard worker, and he said he had a great camp and all that. What I wanted to ask you was, knowing that he was gone for 2.5 years, was it a different type of game plan that you create for a guy like that? More than what anybody's really talking about is just those first couple kicks that he was throwing. He just didn't seem on at that particular moment before we even got to, the exchange, the attempted takedown, and the uppercut.
Obviously there is ring rust, no doubt, but when he started out at the very beginning in the sparring department, he wasn't quite on point, but at the very end there, he was on point,
And the fact that he hasn't been inside performing to that many people, could he have been a little antsy? Yeah, probably. But regardless, 26 seconds into a bout doesn't really determine very much about how good somebody is or how good somebody isn't. One thing's for sure, he was ready. He was 100% healthy. It's just unfortunately that, his knee popped, while he was in there going in the clinch with him. And as the knee popped, then he got hit with a little short, you'd have to really look. It's either an open hand uppercut or a slight uppercut that hit him, jarred his head back a little bit.
Right.
But his knee had already popped, so it made his knee give out completely, So there, if you slow it all down, you can watch it. He's wincing in pain, and then he's going down. As he's going down, he's going to grab like his knee, but then he sees Congo jumping on top of him, so he's covering himself, and then I think he took one good shot from Congo, and it was a good stoppage, the whole bit, and credit to Congo. He came in prepared, and and he got the victory, and the name of the game is victory, right? And he got the victory regardless what happened. He still got the victory, and he's a true sportsman, and good luck to him on his next bout, and then we just got to see on how much the damage was to Kane. The damage was pretty substantial, I would think. I don't know if it's MCL or meniscus. I hope it's the meniscus, but we won't know. He's going to have to get it checked out over there in Arizona where he's at.
Yeah, and so let's fix something real fast. You were on hold when we were bringing you in, and I was talking about Congo fight, but your guys' fight was with Ngannou, so I think you took the handoff from me. But we both know we're talking about the other Frenchman, Francis Ngannou. All right, so you just clarified something that was kind of mysterious for a lot of people, because we heard Kane say he hurt his knee prior to that finishing sequence, but then in the post-fight, he kind of didn't mention that. So you're saying there was a slight tweak prior to the exchange where he goes to the takedown, and then the uppercut caused him to further hurt himself.
He felt a slight pop. And then when he went to put the stance again, he got hit. You could see it on the video. You could see he's getting hit by the really short uppercut and it's kind of open hand. And then his knee completely went. So it was already damaged, but that really completely made it go. But if you look at it and you're not really paying attention, you would think that the punch did it, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. If you don't know what's going on, you would think the punch did it. Because, when I first saw it, I was like, honestly, I didn't know what the hell happened. I went, what the hell happened here? That was weird, and I was like, damn, fight's over. How could that be? What happened?
Yeah.
And then you watch the replay, and then you can see it in the replay. Just play the replay, and you'll see it. And then if you pay attention to, but you can't see when it first originally popped. You can't see that because that's something you don't see.
Okay.
But until it completely gives. Then it completely gave when he got hit, but you can see when he goes down that he was never out.
Okay.
He was completely into it, because when you go down, you don't go reach your leg. You don't do that, because your defense right now is thinking, I better protect myself, and he's like in pain, like you can see his mouth open, like and then all of a sudden he covered his hands, because punches were coming.
Right.
And then especially if you've got someone like Ngannou coming after you, Jesus Christ, that guy's a specimen. What an athlete.
Coach, we got a call earlier from a listener, a fan of the show and of the sport, who said that he saw what others had also posted on social media, that Kane may have tweaked the knee on the open workout. Did you hear about anything like that or see anything like that?
No, he never said nothing to me about it. If that happened, he didn't say a word to me about that. No, nothing.
Okay.
So if it did happen, he didn't tell me.
Okay.
And I would hope he would have told me. He didn't tell me nothing. He just, like I'm telling you, he said he heard the pop, and then that thing just went out. And when I watched the video, he got hit. He got hit, and as his leg went out too. So it kind of looks like it was the punch that did it, but it had started before the punch, is what I'm saying. So it's a freak accident.
Yeah.
How it happened, I don't know.
No,
I don't know. It was a freak accident because he wasn't out. He was not out of it, But trust me, if the ref didn't stop in on it with the pain he was in, he would have been out.
Yeah. Javier Mendez is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's the head coach over at American Kickboxing. And Javier, another thing I want to ask you here before I turn it over to Goes, one thing I've loved about your team is the camaraderie with all these high-level champions. Like the next guy, Justin Willis, he hasn't been a champ yet, but he's, he possibly could be in a few years. And he tweeted, "I just added another one to my hit list." And then DC basically, gave him a little bit of a fist bump as well. Man, that's so cool to see your guys kind of like have each other's back like that. You know what I mean? And to be able to manage it the way you guys have been able to manage it the last few years with egos not stepping on egos, it's pretty impressive. That culture you've kind of created over there.
It's you know what, it's funny that after so many years of being together, it's people ask me what's my greatest accomplishment, and I say these very words: we're still a team. And people don't really fully understand it, but now after 20-something years, people are going, "Wow, now they're acknowledging what's my greatest achievement. We're still a team. We're still together, and it is not easy. It's not easy at all. Not easy at all. It's so hard. It's much harder than making a champion. There are many champions. There are many champions to come. It's keeping us together, keeping us, working together, and of course we're always going to have some disruptions here and there. It's impossible to keep it perfect. Yeah. And I have a lot of misfits. Obviously I know I do. But I do a very good job of trying to keep us together and caring about each other. And it's not easy, and I'm not always successful, But one thing I will always do and have continued to do is I always try, and I always will. And, I'm proud of the fact that we're still a team.
Cain Velasquez was asked about if this was a serious injury, would he retire, just because his body's been banged up. And he didn't seem inclined to think that was an option. But how have you been able to, with that and the fact that DC said, hey, when I turn 40, I want to retire, what kind of input have you given these guys, or have they even asked you for any when it comes to the R word?
Well, for me, the R word is something I can't give them because I've tried it before and it doesn't work. The R word has to come from them. But I do say with DC, if you're asking me as your coach, I would love for you to just fight Brock Lesnar and right off in the sunset. I mean, you're such an unbelievable commentator. You're an unbelievable host. You're unbelievable. You're made for TV. He's made for TV. People love that guy, and I would really love for him to quit. But you know what? That's just my opinion. He's going to do what he wants to do, and if whatever he wants to do, I'm going to support it. As long as he's as healthy as he is, and of course he had a slight injury, that's why he didn't finish his career off like he wanted to. But I support Daniel Cormier in whatever endeavor he wants to do, and I'm with him 100%. He's always made the right decisions. So if he decides he wants to fight some more, then he's got his whole crew behind him because everybody that knows Daniel loves Daniel. And, so as far as what you're saying, I just support him. I support all the guys.
Javier Mendez is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's the leader of the famous AKA gym in San Jose. All right, what do you have for Javier Mendez?
Javier, in regards to Daniel Cormier's, just that fighting spirit that he has, I've seen him take losses in video games and flip out and just have it burn him, What a lot of people point to in this little ending that he's talking about is that if somewhere along those lines, if he were to suffer a loss, he would be done. And sometimes I think about that and I think, man, I think a loss is something that would drive him nuts and would actually keep him around maybe. From what 100%. You know of how he is, how do you feel about that?
Exactly what you said. You're following them just as well as I think I know myself, and I'm with him. Yeah, no, I don't think he can leave it at that. He's got to end with a win. And so hopefully we get Brock, and hopefully he can beat Brock, which I'm thinking he can, but you know what I'm thinking, just because I think doesn't mean he will. But I want the biggest prize for him, and the biggest prize is Brock, and this is prize fighting. It's a sport, but prize fighting is number one. It's always about who can bring the biggest dollars for you, and at the stage where they're at. That's why, Khabib getting Conor was fantastic. Well, Daniel getting Brock, there's no bigger prize for a heavyweight than that. None. Zero. So for me, I want him to have that opportunity and then right off. He's done everything else he needs. So that to me is what it's all about. You've got the fame, you got the titles, go after the money.
Going back to Cain Velasquez just for a second, the tweak that he had before And then when he fell very awkwardly. Was he able to tell if the fall itself also added to the injury, if there was something else that happened on the fall, or was it just a tweak before?
I think, he just said hurt knee pop, and then he just said his knee just gave out. It just gave out. He tried to switch position, and it gave out. And so from what he said, like I said, I watched the video, and I said, well, when you watch the video, if you're really paying attention, then you see he got hit with a short arm uppercut. But the way it looked like, if you're not really paying attention, it looked like the uppercut really did the damage, but it wasn't. His knee gave out, and that's what made it intensified and made it look worse. But he did get hit. But the knee popped before that punch actually happened. So I did a Instagram tweet where I said that, and not everybody, most people agree, but there's some that are going, oh, it's that uppercut that did it to him, but they're missing the point. I said that his knee popped before the uppercut. No, he did get hit. I said he got hit after the knee pop, not after he went down. It popped. No one could see when the pop happened. I couldn't see it. Even on the video, I couldn't see when it popped.
As a coach, I look at what you have to do, and there's not that much time between the end of the fight and when they're announcing the winner. So I'm trying to figure out, as a coach, you're probably trying to figure out what exactly happened. Is my fighter okay? And then having to console Cain as well, because he just suffered a devastating loss after a long layoff. How did you control all your emotions, and what was the order of what you were trying to figure out in your head?
Well, my first order was the first thing I did, I just put my head down, when it happened, and I'm just like, how can this happen to him again? Remember, he was the first guy that was on the Fox show, and that one he should have been fighting whatsoever. He had no business fighting on that card, and we tried to, do everything we can. He had a torn meniscus, and we were torn. We were told he only had a strain. It was no tear, but he had a torn meniscus, complete tear, and that's why he couldn't wrestle. That's why he couldn't do anything. So, we went into the fight with just boxing. And then check this out. In my mind, I'm freaking out because I'm trying to get doctors to give him a cortisone shot. They wouldn't do it. And I couldn't understand why they wouldn't give him a cortisone shot. But then when I found out after we did another MRI that it was completely torn, no wonder they didn't want to give him a cortisone shot because they could have destroyed his leg. So that was horrible. So here he is going in with torn meniscus, no confidence whatsoever, only could box. And you're boxing a superior boxer. Good luck, So he gets him nailed. So now here we're going into this fight. But in this one, the difference was he was 100% healthy. He was 100% ready. There was nothing wrong with him. So for me to all of a sudden this happen again, I just put my head down. And I'm going, how can this be? What the hell? It's a curse. Because I'm kind of superstitious, just somewhat. So I was thinking then the next thing I'm going, man, I hope he's okay. So I love him. I love Cain. I love all my guys, but I'm very close to Cain, and he's my family. I'm the godfather to his daughter, Coral, so we're family. So it digs deeper on me than it would anybody else because he's my family. So it hurts.
When do you think you guys will know the extent of the injury?
I called him today, and I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, he said he's okay. I go, well, what about your knee? He goes, I'm going to have it checked out. I go, well, please let me know. And, when you can, and I love you and the whole bit, and he goes, I love you too. And we'll find out, we'll find out the extent. I hope it's not the MCL. I'm praying that it's just the meniscus,
Yeah.
Because the meniscus, the MCL, that could, I don't know. I don't know what that could mean, because he's, press conference, if you listen to his press conference, he said it right in the press conference. He's a freak accident, and he was fine. And he wants to be back. He does. He feels that he could be the best, and he wants to go. And it's really the whole thing is it's kind of unfair for the fans, to have come for this and to just see something like that, and it's a freak accident, and most people are like it wasn't, and most people are it was. So we need more of a definitive, a great fight. We need a great fight between him and whoever, and it doesn't have to be Ngannou. He just has to get back to the form that he needs to be. But the freak accident did not create that, and we'll see. Hopefully, maybe he get, if he does have a something not as bad, he can get back on the wagon, and maybe 2 or 3 fights down the line, maybe the UFC will give him another crack at Francis, and and that would be good.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, Coach. We appreciate the time. Have you been in touch with Habib at all from your end? Has he told you, hey, keep these 2 or 3 months ready for me, Coach? This is when we'll be back? Because that's like one big mystery that'll kind of unravel a lot of people's careers. He holds all the main cards, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've been in touch with him. He was pretty hurt because of Kane. I mean, these guys are like brothers. So he was very, very concerned. He was very concerned, and he's let me know what's going on with Kane. How's he feeling, Coach? I'm so hurt. He's devastated, and he goes, I don't know what to say. I go, Habib, it's just the part of the life we choose. You can't win them all, and sometimes we get our ass kicked for real, and sometimes big things happen. And we've been in all of them, and this is just another journey for us, and this is not the last time as a coach that I'm going to see something like this happen, and there's sometimes we get our ass beat, like I said. Other times big things happen. Other times the judges take it away from us. Other times referees do. It's our sport, and so yeah, he understands, and he said, I understand, Coach, and it is part of our journey. And with him, he's not going to come back, as of what I know right now, from what he told me, until his teammates are out of suspension also, and he's very clear on Nevada. He ain't fighting in Nevada. What they did was wrong. Trying to get him to do anti-bullying when he was the one being bullied. All he did was basically put the bully in his place for being bullied all those months. So now you want him to do anti-bullying, and yet you acknowledge that it was bullying because you said you want to try to stop fighters from being able to do the antics that Conor was. Well, this is freedom of speech, and the fighters can say whatever the hell they want. You can't control that, So, but here now they punish Habib $500,000 to boot, and then to top it off, his teammates only went in to try to see what they could do to help him. They didn't swing at nobody, so his cousin jumps up on top of the cage. Conor's on top of the cage, and his cousin not even looking at Conor. Conor looks at him, takes a swing at him, cracks him in the eye, gives him a black eye. So now that's a fight going on. So Zubaira goes in looking all over the place, not knowing what the hell's going on, and Conor sees him coming, and he takes a swing at him, and now both of those guys get suspended for a year and $25,000. So Habib's like, no, that's not right. If anybody should have been fined the longest, it should have been Habib. But no, Habib gets the less of the fine, so he will not fight until his teammates are off suspension, which will be in October, November. So knowing how strong he is and how willed he is, and I support it, he ain't going to fight till October, November. I support that 100%. You have to stand for something. You can't allow something like that to happen. And as much as I hate it, because I love Vegas, that's my favorite all-time place to go, where if I don't want to work someone's corner, but they're fighting in Vegas, I'm nominating myself, or I'll find a way to go just because I love to gamble, So, yeah. So for me, it sucks because, I want to go to Vegas all the time for fights. That's my favorite place to go, and but Habib ain't going now, which that part makes me sad. But I understand his reasoning, and I support that 100%. And as long as they don't do anything to do what they did to him, I stand behind him on him never fighting ever in Vegas again. I approve of that, right. But for me, it sucks.
All right, Coach, we'll end with that. Thanks so much for the catch-up. It's always great to see what's the latest with you and AKA, so we appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great evening. All right, bye-bye. Follow him on Twitter at AKA Hav. We'll be right back after this break, folks.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
MLB Network Radio unveils the top 10 shortstops in all of baseball as voted on by our expert analysts tomorrow morning at 9 Eastern, only on the MLB Network Radio, Sirius 209, XM89, and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. Wow, fun times there with both Javiers. Coach Mendez there saying that Habib really is done, and them giving us a different point of view. That was interesting, you know, as far as like who hit who and who did what. But
you don't fall that way and not do something.
Sucks that if they were to have a rematch of the biggest fight ever, it just wouldn't be in Vegas.
Yeah, but how about him saying he's a little superstitious? We talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Any part of the show that you missed, of course, is available in HD quality, commercial free on the SiriusXM app. Check it out. I think you'll definitely make use of it with not only our show but Busted Open, the Luke Thomas Show, MMA Tonight, and At the Fights. All of them are there for you. All right, so also shout out to Javier Vazquez, who looks like he is 100% on his way to beating colon cancer, which he was diagnosed with in late 2017. Former WEC, UFC, King of the Cage veteran. It was great to have a catch-up with him there. Tomorrow we'll be having Neil Melanson co-host the episode with us. Dan Tallon will be back. Andre Fila will also join us, and I believe we might have one more other guest, but we haven't locked it in yet, so we'll leave that as that. So thanks again to our producer, Josh. Great job as always, Josh. Goes, you did really good as well. Got to give you a fist bump. And, of course, I took it to another level. I was fantastic. Folks, we're out of here. We'll see you all tomorrow with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Go out there and be a champion.